Welcome everybody to Bitcoin Live. Today we have a very special guest with us, a longtime friend. Andy Lian is a true veteran in the world of blockchain and technology. He first discovered blockchain, I think, back in 2012, when most people still thought it was a joke. Since then, he has spent over 20 years working at the intersection of technology, finance, and government. Andy has advised more than 20 governments on blockchain policy, chaired a major crypto exchange, and written several best-selling books. He's also the founder of a non-profit that believes in decentralization for the people and not against institutions. And he wrote the last book, Web4, The Age of Autonomous Intelligence. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Hey, bro. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You have been busy, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We have not. I mean, on and off we talk, but I've not been on your show for a long time, and since my last book, so I've been fine, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you just brought out a new book, Web4, and we're gonna talk about that, of course. First of all, like, how was the process of writing that book? Was it easy, or did like, how's your writing process?
I think it's a lot easier than advising government. Writing process is also not easy. So to be very honest, I supposed to publish the book maybe 2 years ago. So I have like 23 versions of the same book. I keep refining it, and I kept telling myself I have to change, right? I have to edit. Then it came to the point where late last year, I told myself I have to set a deadline. So I told all my friends, I said, I'm going to set a deadline by early 2026. I have to publish. So I just publish it because the longer I drag, the more things I add to the book.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the book become thicker and thicker. It was the current book that you see is about, I don't know, if you remove all the appendixes and the references and so forth, about 350 pages. But the original book that was maybe last quarter, Q4 of last year, that full version, including all the images and so forth, I have over 950
Wow.
pages. So that's why when my friends bought the book, the hardcover, for example, I removed almost everything. Images were removed, references, case study, and a lot of things are removed. Right? If I were to add all those things in, I couldn't sell the hardcover at $16 because
It would be like
Amazon,
this kind of book.
precisely, and Amazon would say that, hey, this book is going to cost people $40. I was like, oh, no way, man. So I reduce it, and in fact, I have 23 versions. So I have versions. I give you an example, bro. I have versions that are literally like an expose, right? Because I'm not happy with how Web3 is like, right?
Yeah.
So there are versions where I say that this project, is not Web3 because this is the things that they have done. How they fundraise. Why it makes everything so dirty. Then I was telling myself, oh shit, then I become like a paparazzi, or maybe like some expose guy who's here to just gain eyeball, right? So from that version, I slowly shifted myself to a more academic version, which you see right now, and
Yeah.
that was also leading to the PhD that I was preparing, right? So it's already completed. I have not submitted the thesis yet because I have not found a proper school or professor to do that. But
Yeah.
I'll need to do that very soon, probably by this year too. So writing a book, easy, not easy, but it really takes a lot of time. And bro, I'm not here to sell the book for money, right? Not, I mean, you have to pay something, but I'm
Yeah.
not here to like sell a book to make a big profit, right? So I just want to make sure that the book is done. Friends are reading it. Some of them bought it. It's fine. That's
You
how it is,
want
bro.
to sort of spread the ideas and the message that's in the book, and not.
Yeah.
I imagine that you already have enough money.
Nah, this sometimes educating people is a lot more important than
True.
just selling the book at $2 more or $10 more. It doesn't matter.
But basically, if I understand you correctly, you have like enough material for two more books that are sort of, part two and three.
I do have it. In fact, if you if you if you know what I have been doing, I kept pushing for re-decentralization, right?
Yeah.
To get people to look at decentralization in different angle. I think I can come up with another book which is called Re-Decentralize or something, right? Because ultimately, of course, when we talk about the Web4 era, of course, we talk about the AI part and so forth. But ultimately, the concept of decentralization got to change and evolve and pivot to what it's supposed to be in 2026, for example, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely have enough to write another 2 books or something, that's not a problem at all, I'm just worried that no one is going to read it, man.
Well, that is a good question, right? Because I like you, I also keep putting stuff in my articles, and then they become really long. And then the biggest complaint, I usually get compliments, like people read it and they say, "Oh, love it," I'm immersed. But the biggest complaint is like it's too long and I don't have enough time. I can't
It
read
is
it.
true.
Yeah,
It is true. Nowadays, when everything is all about fast food, right?
yeah,
So no one is going to read the article. I write my articles almost every day, and then religiously I do it whenever I see something that is not correct. I'll try to correct them, right? Like friends are saying about Clarity Act going to be passed by 4th of July, right? I said, how is this possible, man? Because there's so many different things that are not done, right? So I wrote an article, say, hey, this is shit, it's not going to happen, right? These are the reasons why it's not going to happen. But how many people would really read? When I talk about Michael Saylor's stock, right?
yeah.
How he's going to, how he
That's right.
manages the portfolio,
Yeah.
and his dividends and so forth. I talk about that, very early. And of course, some friends did catch it, and they felt that okay, all right, that is good. But I love to get more people to read about it, comment about it, and then from there, from there we kind of you know share knowledge together, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is very missing.
I'll also link your sort of your articles underneath the video so that people can sort of start exploring it. I've read actually a couple of them, but like other people, I also have not much time, and so I do try to read as much as I can or watch as much as I can. But there's so much stuff out there, and everything is completely saturated, as you mentioned.
True.
It's if my tabs are like I got like 50 or 80 tabs open of stuff that I still have to read or watch or watch partly. And I think you probably know better than I do, but I think AI produces now more content than the entirety of the human race produced every couple of months or a month, something like that.
Yeah, but there's all these AI articles or AI content. I'm not against those, right?
True.
But you need to present a finding, right? At the end of the article, you need to get something from it,
Yeah.
right? So honestly, most of the guys who are just sharing, they don't give. There's no takeaway message, right? It's just another AI rubbish, right?
Yeah.
But if all of us who are using AI has a very very clear direction what we want, then the content will be a lot better, right? They will be
Yeah.
like talking like you, but AI, smoothen the job and make it faster, right? But these are different, man. Most people just treat it like the absolute truth, but it's far
Yeah.
from that, man.
It does make the writing process a lot easier and faster, right? I mean, the articles that I produce would have taken like 3 to 4 months to put together if I did it like all by myself. And with AI, you can do it in 2 or sometimes even in 1 week if you depending on the article. So it's
True.
like really, yeah, really amazing tool. So let's sort of dive into your book a little bit. You said in your book, AI is like the brain and blockchain is like the trust layer. So how do you imagine the combination making crypto and the internet easier and more useful for regular people who aren't technical experts?
That there's no need to be technical expert for that, right? So the key concept around AI being the brain and blockchain being the spine is very clear cut, right? Because AI has all the brain computing power, right? They could compute a lot faster than any human being, right? And the blockchain itself will become like a securing layer, right? It connects everything together, and then it sets as a connecting layer, a security layer for all these AI agents, right? So it's pretty no brainer to be very very candid about it, you know. So and this concept is nothing new, right?
Yeah.
I talk about Web4 since 2021. I made a keynote speech in 2023, I think, and I kept believing that, you know, AI is the way to go, because if you look at the current structure, AI is actually the future, right? You can't say that, oh, AI is bad or something, right? It's here to stay. Crypto, many people also say crypto is bad, but right now you understand that crypto is also here to stay, right? So both of them combined together will make a perfect marriage, you know, for a new web era, right? I'm not going to go through what Web 1 is, Web 2 is, and Web 3 is, but at the very least, in the Web 3 environment, I think that the Web3 environment is very centralized, right? If we believe in DeFi, decentralized finance, as the future, then we cannot tell ourselves that, oh, if the blockchain is centralized, it's okay, or not decentralized, it's okay, right? Because ultimately our selling point is we are decentralized, right? So in order for us to be truly decentralized, I think AI got to step in, because the consensus mechanism, you know, behind what Web3 has right now, you know, how the governance is done, how the people comes in, how the grid kicks in, we need to reduce all those things. So AI would become that brain to reduce all the greed and all the unnecessary problems that we see in Web3, right?
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I can't really disagree with any of what you just said. But don't you also think that AI has a problem, right? Because at the moment AI is very much centralized in a couple of really big businesses, and they only seem to be getting bigger. So how do you think that we could decentralize AI itself?
You look at the topic itself. It's called Web4, right? So if you see this from a Web3 native, you know, if that Web3 native agree with me that Web3 is not decentralized, let's make it more decentralized using AI. That's from a Web3 native perspective, right?
Yeah,
And okay, let's say we agree, right? But if you look at the AI part as well, if you talk to the big boys in maybe in San Francisco, or if you talk to those other accelerator program that is investing into AI and so forth, they also do not want AI to be monopolized by one or two big companies, right? So eventually, the direction is to go decentralized
yeah,
and make sure that the community provides the computing power, right? So that everything can be more distributed and more controlled in a way by the masses and not one or two people. Because right now, just look at it this way. AI can be the one who change who do healthcare research, to change
mhm,
your genomes, you change your DNA and so forth. But the same AI can also be the one that creates maybe another COVID-19 virus, right? Because they can run really, really fast. So if this thing can be decentralized, things can be accountable for it. You understand where did that so-called bomb formula came up from,
mhm.
right? Then it can be more controlled, right? Instead of right now, if you talk to friends in US, they will say that, oh, AI needs to be KYC, you know, the
Yeah,
user got to be KYC, or maybe the outcome of the prompt should be accountable for it. But how do you do that, right? It goes back to the same thing. AI can be the one that is governing it, right? Blockchain can be the one accounting for all these things, and it become a win-win marriage, right, between AI, blockchain, cryptocurrency, right? So that's the whole thesis of what I'm trying to prove in the book for Web4. Same for my PhD thesis is still the same, that I want to make sure that decentralization can go to the next level that is more accepted by people, and at the same time without killing ourselves. That's the key thing, man.
Yeah. Okay. So if I understand you correctly, you want to decentralize AI, and AI then will sort of police or make sure that nothing bad happens while it's being decentralized.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, and blockchain plays a very big part, right? Because if
Yeah.
all our data is immutable, right? Everything is being recorded, so
Yeah.
each and every step can be accountable for, right? If you use it like a just a pure API call for all your AI, then eventually you will fall into a cycle where people might weaponize the AI, and you have no idea who did it, right? And then who is the government going to blame? You're going to blame Anthropic
Yeah.
for giving this enterprise the Meteor's accessibility. I think it's not practical, right? So eventually, some guardrail got to happen, and decentralized AI is one of the guardrail, in my humble opinion, right? It's not. I didn't write that down in very specific in the book, because that part of it are parts that I actually removed, from my book, because like I told you, is a 1,000 pages there
Yeah.
about. I have to remove the other half, but the other half is more AI centric, right? I see it from an AI angle, but what you see in the book right now is more from a Web3 angle, right? So I think it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, yeah, and you like I said at the start, you advise like 20 different governments around the world, and then you have this message for them, which is kind of scary. I imagine, from their perspective, what you're saying, like you have to sort of let go, you have to decentralize more. I mean, from a government perspective, that's sort of like the opposite of what they want to hear, right? I mean, how do you package that message, and what is their response? And
Okay, this is a really tough one, because if you talk to the government, right, the more you talk to the government, the more you will realize two things: they want control,
yeah.
right? They want control, and they want to know how to control, right? So my method when I talk to them is never about decentralization, right? Is to get them to the door to look at. In the very early days, I get them to look at blockchain, right? They will understand what is blockchain. It's just a technology. Let's push for it, right? We push for use cases, right? Then when cryptocurrency become a thing, right? President Trump and all the rest of the governments are pushing.
Yeah.
Then they realize that, okay, that is the future money, right? We never push decentralization. The only questions that we usually get from the government, like I've said, they want to understand how to control the decentralized networks, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there are many different ways to do it. Like, of course, you want to seize all the nodes,
Yeah.
seize all the data center. It's not very feasible, right? So the only thing that we usually push them through, and also link them up with some of these vendor. I don't want to mention names. They are big names. That is that they go through the oracles, right? Or they go through the wallet tracking, just to track everything, right? So I think it's a very fair, it's a super fair process, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to understand how to track all the wallets that is within your geographic region, and then from then, if there is any new on off RAM, for your fiat, then you can track that. If you want to tax, you tax that, right? Or
Yeah.
if there's a capital gain, you just keep track of it, right? So we usually only give them advice from this point of view, right?
Yeah.
The more exciting government, where they really want to control certain networks within their country, whether they are in Asia, or they are in APAC, then they have to find their own ways to do it, right? I usually will not go to that extent to say that, oh, you need to sue so and so that you have access to that public blockchain. It doesn't work this way. We use logic to convince the regulators.
And then do you sort of also notice like a difference between, I mean, I believe you're still in Singapore based, but I think you're also sort of, ties with Hong Kong. Like, is there like a difference between, like how Singapore, Hong Kong, or let's say mainland China sort of looks at these things? Or is that sort of, are they more aligned, or Korea or Japan, or,
I think most of them are very reasonable, right? They take on the innovation stand, right? They want to understand the technology. At the same time, they want to take on a more innovation stand to kind of know what they can do and what they cannot do and what they should not do and what they have to do, right? So most of them take on a more innovative point of view so that it benefits the people, right? I always say whatever you are doing, you have to benefit the people, right? You have to get people to use it, right? I'll give you an example. This is not what I have advised, but in Singapore, we have like an education portal where all the degrees and all these education certificates are on chain, right? I think that is good, right? Everybody is using it. Do they need to understand that it's on blockchain? No need. There's no need to do that. But I think that is how successful technology is being implemented, right? So I always use that as one of the example, to tell people that, hey, you need people to use it. If there's nobody using it, then you screwed up, man. What are you building?
And what would be their biggest fear? Like, because they love innovation, of course, and they love change and they love technology. But when you talk to them, like, what is their ultimate fear that what could go wrong in their view, or what worries them, what keeps them up at night?
Wow, this is a very big question. Okay, so put it this way, most of them are always talking about tax. Right? If you come from a government standpoint, they want to look at tax. They want to look at productivity, right? And then they want to look at innovation. So these are the only three things most of the proper government would spend time on to build on this crypto angle, right? Of course, they want to understand, how the payment rails are being done. How can are there any privacy, that kicks in and so forth. So there's a lot of things like the I can't mention the country, but more recently, there's a lot of these RWA projects, right? And then one of these government asked, hey, is it okay if we use a public blockchain to tokenize all the asset using a public blockchain, right? Example, Ethereum or maybe a Solana, and then run with it, right? So everything will be on chain, and everything is public. I told them, why do you need to be public, right? There is no need to be public, right? Because when they talk to when they do their research on the ground, all the crypto native guys are telling them that, hey, your stock exchange should go on a public blockchain.
Yeah.
They have to do public blockchain because this is what it is, da da da. But my advice to them is it's never possible to be on a public blockchain because everything is public. You can get front run, right? You can have all your NEV attacks and so forth. So it's not feasible to do that, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't get an honest opinion, right, in this space, you would then be misled to do a lot of stupid things, right? So for me, I told them straight up, that's it. Please, don't waste time. Just go with your own private blockchain, or you could do like maybe a semi-hybrid one, right? To just show proof of funds or proof of money flowing through the blockchain, right? And then that's it, right? That's it. Then some of them, they will ask, so what's the benefit of cryptocurrency? From this RWA talk. I said nothing, man. If you want to put everything on the perp stacks, for example, okay, I think you're good because you're flowing all the money to the perp stacks, and people are just using the money. You can see them on chain. I think that's good, right? But if you are using blockchain as a database, right, oh, I sold 5 shares, 5 SpaceX shares. There is no need to be public, right? As long as you can account for it, the blockchain technology can make you go 24/7, right? That's it. You're a winner, right? There's no need to talk about whether it's going to be a public blockchain or not. Those are just waste of time. At least I will not go to that extent to to do that, because it doesn't make sense to me at all,
Yeah, I mean, if you're a government, of course, like you said, they want control. They need control, right? In order to function, they need a certain level of control. So it does make sense that you would go for a private blockchain and not for a public one,
True.
at least initially. You also mentioned the people, right? I know you're very much, passionate about that. But sometimes I kind of sort of worry, and also sort of when I sort of, browse your book a little bit, with Web4, what kind of roles are there still left for people? For example, within crypto or Web4, what could people like we do in that kind of environment?
I think there will not be any difference, because when we talk about Web4, is all driven by AI, right? People can become the architect, right? If you look at the project or company basis, AI is going to take over everything. No, the human being is still going to be the architect, right? We build all the different layer, interface layer, agent layer, protocol layer, data layer, whatever layer, right? We are the architect, right? After we come out with the architecture, we leave it to AI, right? AI will run it, make sure that it's fair, make sure that the AI and AI are talking, make sure that the security layer is there to make sure that the money doesn't flow out, or make sure there is no hacks. You will still leave it to the AI to do it, right? Everything will be recorded on the blockchain, and you are an architect, right? So you are not like jobless, right? You still have a job to do, but your role will not be like some of the current projects right now. For example, if you are a blockchain project, right, and then the blockchain treasury, the company, the CEO, they own 99% of the token. Then what is so decentralized about this whole consensus mechanism, right? So if you are the architect, you're the CEO, right? You delegate the power to the AI. AI will make the decision for you, right? And then that's it, right? There will be no human intervention. Like right now is a 99% human intervention, right?
Yeah.
If your money didn't go through, you call the CEO. CEO can stop your transaction, right? I don't want to see those, right? Because then that is really not decentralized at all, right? So if we go through a mechanism and go through a proposal and walk into the real DAO situation, like ideally how DAO should be, then I think it's going to be a win-win, right? DAO need the AI element as well to make sure that the consensus mechanism is taken care of, right? If the consensus mechanism is not taken care of, no matter what we do, it's still not going to be decentralized, right? So AI will take over that role, and AI would then be that big brain behind, the whole process. But then it's going to be a win-win situation for all of us.
Yeah, the nervous system that regulates the body, so to speak.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
So what kind of skill sets would you advise people within the current Web3/future Web4 space to acquire? Like, what is the most important things that we start doing and learning and apply ourselves?
I think we need to understand how AI works. If you want to be the architect, you need to understand how to prompt, right? You need to understand how to ask questions. The problem with most of the AI user right now, if you look at their article or if you look at the things that they have written, it's just like no brain. There's like soul. There's no soul to it, right? But if you want to really get into the AI space, whether you're just purely AI or you're talking about fully automation, in a Web4 environment where it's all decentralized, you need to understand how to prompt, right? Ask the question, right? If you're still wrong, ask more questions. Ask until you're happy with the outcome. Then this is the result that you want. And that is productivity. Productivity doesn't mean you produce 100 articles a day, right? Because AI can do that. Productivity means that you produce 100 articles, okay, why not reduce it, produce 20 articles a day, but all fully quality, right? When I say quality is you ask questions, right? You keep asking, right? Until you get the output that you want. And that should be the case, right? So I strongly suggest, the young ones or people who are in the space right now, to understand how AI reasoning model is like, right? If you look at the US frontier model, what do they do best, right? And then how about the Chinese open source model? What can they do best, right? Because for me, I always think that AI, if AI is smart enough, AI will come out with their own currency, right? They might not use cryptocurrency, right? I'm also with the school of thought that AI should be free, right? Because ultimately there will be a model where the enterprise are paying, the people are feeding the data, right? Of course, privacy and all those things got to be removed, but we are feeding the data, right? And that kind of model can only happen in places that are pushing the open source model. For example, the frontier models in China, for example. I think that would be a very good model, because ultimately you can't stop AI, right? You can only change the working model, right? If you go with all the US frontier model, there are a lot of restrictions, right? One day the government can call the AI company to say you got to shut down, right? Because you allow
like they
corporates
did
to
with
have
Anthropic.
correct. So I don't want to mention the name, but yes, just like what they did, right? I think it's not fair, right? But if you do it in an open source manner, no one is going to stop you, right? Who's going to stop you? You can run this locally. You can do it with different model. No one is going to stop you, right? So in order for us to do well, we need to understand and use AI prompt, talk to AI, understand how they function, and produce the results that we want, right? Even if you want to do automation, right? Automate trading, automate social media, automate research, you have to give them the right prompt. If you don't give them the right prompt, the rubbish is going to come out, So, yeah.
I know, of course, that Asia is in many ways way ahead with AI, and especially the adoption and application of AI in society. And I think there's also sort of like a cultural difference in how they look at this technology, right? I think in Asia they're way more positive and they embrace it more, and in Europe and in the Western countries they're more apprehensive. They're more scared of what could go wrong. And how do you see this sort of cultural difference between Asia and the West, like how they approach AI and how they look at it?
I personally will think that what you have observed is not wrong, it's not wrong. But I think the perception got to change, right? So if I talk to friends in US, for example, many of them have not tried the frontier models, the like maybe we are talking about Faber 5, for example, right? The latest one. They have not tried it. You know why? Because it's expensive, right? If you talk to US friends, they think that it's expensive, right? If you ask them to use the Chinese model, in which I think in about maybe 1 month's time, they will come out with their own Mythos version, or maybe a Faber 5 DeepSeek version, right? But you tell them to use the Chinese model, they will think that the Chinese is spying on them. So it's just strange, right? And then they still want to use it, but they know that it's expensive. So most of them, they will turn out not using it at all. Same for friends in Europe, almost the same situation, right? But they kept telling me about the privacy, the data, US is going to take my data. China is definitely going to take my data. I'm not going to use it. We need to be, don't know what's PDPA or something compliant, privacy compliant. I was like, shit, man, then you have nothing to use, right? What is so important in your prompt that you think that is valuable for people to steal, right? I don't know. What is the weather today? How to cook a piece of chicken? The most they will understand that on Monday, 2 o'clock, you think about cooking chicken. That's it, right? What else can they do to you, right? So I think ultimately it's not so much about whether you are in a country or you are in this country, that country. It's all about the mindset, right? If you want to use it, just use it, right? If you think that the cost is too expensive, get a cheaper model, right? Or get the Chinese model. The Chinese model can be free, right?
Yeah.
I think people got to change the mindset. It's not about whether it's Asia or Europe or US. If you want to use it, there's always a way to do it, right? You just ask yourself, are you willing to do it? Most of them are not.
Yeah, I saw, for example, I think in China they actually sort of promote or encourage entrepreneurialism underneath under their population, and sort of giving them access to really high-level AI so that they can sort of start a business, like a one-person business, sort of like from nowhere. I saw some really cool stuff with drones and other stuff that they're building, housewives, using AI. And it's like a totally different sort of situation than in Western countries where, like you said, either they can't afford it or they are very scared of using it. And so it seems that Asia is sort of having a liftoff. Do you think the West can still sort of compete? I guess.
I think right now, if you talk about from a company perspective and fundraising perspective, the West is leading. No.
Yeah.
The Chinese model and so forth they are nothing near, right? So they are definitely winning from a money perspective. But I think the core thing for most of us, including myself, is that I believe in decentralization. I believe in open source, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at open source, or you're looking at a longer horizon, right? Assumingly that AI is going to be really common thing, right? It would be really really a big production tool, productivity tool. Then and people would have to use it. Then I would strongly think that the open model is the way to go, right? So if US right now, capital wise, or the frontier model capitalization wise, they are definitely the biggest, right?
Yeah.
China, for example, they are biggest in terms of the open source. So in order for all of this to really work around, or for the US to kind of go to the next stage, I strongly suggest that the US companies to look at good open source LLMs that is cheap, free, good, and widely accessible. I think that model should come out. Initially, I thought that would be open AI because of the foundation, because of their vision, right? But of course, now I think the taste has changed, right? But I really hope that there will be that open source AI that is going to take over that role. So I still think that open source is the way to go for AI.
Yeah, and then I guess game theory wise, you would probably could argue that since Asia and especially China is going the open source way, then it automatically forces the West to join or be left behind, right? So they don't really have a choice, I guess, in that sense.
True.
I also, I watched quite a few interviews with Jensen Huang, and he has this sort of 5-layer cake, approach with, I think, energy, chips, what is it, models, applications, and infrastructure. I think it's like a little bit different, but and then of course, like you say, the US still has a lead in chips and I guess models. But energy-wise, application and infrastructure, I think Asia is leading by leaps and bounds and light years ahead, right? So how can the West sort of keep pace with China and Asia?
That's a very different model, right? So right now, if you look at the US model, electricity off the grid, they are more decentralized right now, right? If you go with their vision, they are going to build different computing or electricity outside the house. Every house will have their own solar panel, right? They will contribute to the computing power. It seems like it's more decentralized, right? But if you look at the Chinese model, is they actually spend billions of dollars. I mean the whole country wise to come out with a solar center, different energy, in different parts of China. They have a natural advantage, right? So if the US side can do that decentralized electricity harvesting, I think that would be also a very cool thing to do. Right? Everybody would be mining, everybody would be computing, would be sharing their computing electricity, to that whole vision, right? So I think it's possible, right? All these things are all aligned with the future, right? Electric car, right? You need electricity. Mining for Bitcoin, you need electricity. AI, you need electricity, right? You need those to facilitate your whole computing facilities and so forth. So I think the future is pretty straightforward, man. Whoever has the power will win, man. That's it. So if it's US that has the power, they will win. Now, I didn't listen to a lot of the Jensen's presentation because sometimes it's too long. Sometimes I felt that he's like a car salesman, right? Because ultimately the story is buy my chip, right? So I didn't listen to too many, but I do like the fact that he's not just selling hardware, right? If you really look into his presentation, he's not only selling hardware. He's actually he's also pushing for in some degree open source, right? Let's be very honest. He's actually pushing everything, right? But of course that is with the pretext that you need to use my NVIDIA hardware, right? So they don't care whether you're open source, closed source, or whatever source. Just use my NVIDIA chip, right? But his vision is very holistic because he looks at everything, and I think it's good to have that kind of leader, but at the same time he should also try to really take a side, right? What is he trying to do, right? Is he just going for all the enterprise model? Is he going for the open source business model, or is he thinking of a guardrail to go for a more decentralized environment so that it's going to be a win-win-win for everybody? So it's up to Jensen, because I think there's always a product cycle, right? If he's at the last stage of the cycle where everybody has gone through the pain and issues and so forth, maybe he will start to talk about the decentralized AI part. But right now, it's a heavy sales part where he needs to market and get as many people to do and buy as many of his chips as possible. So I think he's covering everything. But sooner or later, they would have to they have to converge and then have a very strong selling point, for some of these concepts that we talk about here,
Yeah, and then that what you just mentioned is of course something that they all have in common, right? Also Sam Altman and even Anthropic, they always speak to their own book, but they're all with Anthropic they always mention like, we have to focus on ethics and all that kind of stuff, but basically they're saying you have to use Anthropic, right? So that they all have this sort of sales angle to the product that they promote. And we just mentioned like energy, and some people view what's going on with the Middle East at the moment, like from that specific angle and this sort of AI race that's going on. Is that also how you see what's going on? Like how do Asia or Asian people sort of look at the mess in the Middle East right now? Like what is there?
I think most of us want the energy price to go down, right? Oil price to go down. That's it. When the oil price could come down, right, and then together with the stimulus check coming in, then the economy can then go back to a more gradual upward trend. Right. So I think the oil the energy crisis or the oil price is actually one of the very key factor to what we are seeing right now. If that is not controlled, the inflation will go sky high.
Yeah, yeah.
So that got to be done, and that is not only affecting US or it's not a war in the Middle East, but it affects everybody, right? Until the point where we go full electric, say God bless you, you can keep all the oil. We have to sort that out, man. US got to sort that out.
So I also saw some podcasts about serious oil analysts who predict, like, if they don't fix this by the end of June, oil might actually hit like $200 a barrel, like they initially predicted like months ago. So let's say they don't fix this by the end of June. Like, where do you see inflation going? Let's say in Europe, or in Asia, countries like the Philippines, or even China, right? I think if I'm not mistaken, they got like 20% of their energy base is still oil based, and of course they get a lot from Russia, and it's not all from the Middle East. But even if it's like 10%, it's like a huge chunk that disappears as energy demand grows and not ceases, right? So where do you see sort of inflation sort of by the end of the year if they don't fix this?
I think there are too many factors to look at this, right? So if the oil price continue to spike, you drive the overall CPI data higher, right? And then the core inflation, including food, energy, and will just go sky high, right? So if you have noticed how the price of oil is right now, I think everybody is trying to control as much as possible, right, to make it still somewhat affordable, right? So I think the effort is obvious. They want to control and make sure that it's okay, right? So I don't really think that they would prolong this energy crisis for too long. They have to stop it. I'm not sure about the war and what is the US role in this whole mess. But somehow or rather, like I said, just now, they got to sort this out, right? Whether they're going to stop the war, whether they come up with a different program, to move ahead with the oil crisis, because everybody will suffer if the war continue, if the oil continue to be high. Everything is high, so they have to stop it, bro. If not, we'll just be lose situation.
No, I totally agree. And but the strategic petroleum reserves are sort of draining. We're sort of at the end of the rope. Do you think, like, if they don't do it, it will lead to famine? It would double prices in food stores by the end of the year. Is that what you, or do you think it's even worse or less extreme?
I think it's a bit less extreme, right? I just felt that you were not going to like a famine or there's like a huge super crisis. You will hit the inflation first. Money, you have to pay more money to buy your staples. That's it, But how long can this reserve go? I'm not sure. Different countries have different reserves, right? So, like I said, it has to be sorted out ASAP. It's going to be win-win for everybody. Win-win for US as well, because as long as this is still going on, war is still going on, they are still trying to meddle with things, the crisis will still continue, right? So same thing, man. I'm not sure, but I have friends in the private groups. We were talking about this probably like last month, and then right now, this month, nobody's talking about oil and so forth. We're all excited about SpaceX. But last month we said that at most they will just have this problem until maybe October, November. That's it. Then the midterms kick in, things got to change. So so it should be around this time frame, to be honest.
Well, let's hope so. Because that would be pretty bad if it doesn't. And you just mentioned SpaceX. So SpaceX is, of course, Elon Musk's baby. and some people think that SpaceX is highly overvalued, based on different kind of metrics. When you look at it, it does make sense. But other people say, like, it's actually undervalued and it could go much higher, right? Because SpaceX is so much more than just what it appears to be. It's also very closely connected to AI, and it has all these different elements to it. And of course, Elon Musk is a box full of surprises, right? So how do you see the IPO of SpaceX, and do you think it's either undervalued or overvalued?
I think undervalue, overvalue, you have to look at the time frame as well, right?
Yeah.
Because when people say that it's undervalued, what time frame are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are you talking about now, right? I think if you're talking about now, I think it's definitely, I think maybe a bit overvalued, right? But is it a fair price to be at 135, for example?
Yeah.
I think it's not a fair price, to be honest, right? But life is not fair, right? Just to begin with. So who are we to see whether it's overvalued or undervalued, right? But for me, is because I made a post the other day, right? What I expect in terms of pricing, right, for SpaceX. So the stage one that I wrote, within day 1 to 3, the price movement is about 135 to about 165, 175.
Yeah.
Right, 3 days. So I think that will be next week, Monday, Tuesday. I think that should be the price target that we should be looking at. And then when you go to stage 2, which is to about 2 to 3 weeks down the road, I think you will still grind upwards, maybe about 180 to about 190, thereabout. This is based on the amount that is kind of circulating right now.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, because that is also the point where the index fund kicks in, right? So you would pump to about maybe pump to about 190, thereabout, and then they will stay buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. But if you look at it in a longer stretch period between 2 to 6 months before the midterms, I think it will go down pretty sharply to about 120, right?
Yeah.
This is just non-financial advice based on what I
No, this is definitely not financial advice. No.
I put it up in my post, but there's a subscriber post where I talk about it a lot deeper. So 2 to 6 months it should come down, right? Because you have proven yourself that this is a fairly good IPO. The insider get the money, the old employee get the money. What's next, right? You got to scale up, right? If you want to be the next Amazon or whatever, or next Microsoft, you need to scale up and get people to see to that vision, right? So the Starlink subscription should be all global. Price should be very affordable, right? If they continue with this price, you will never go global, right?
Yeah.
Your price got to be at least down by maybe 50 to 70% from the current price, right? Then from there, that's it. From there you would see the price backed by real value, right? So probably that is going to take another 2 to 5 years to see another very sustainable pump up.
And they have this treasury. I think they have like about over 18,000 Bitcoin right now in their treasury. So do you think that's wise that they have so many Bitcoin in their treasury? And why do they have Bitcoin in their treasury at all? And what is your take there? And also, how do you view SpaceX? Like, is it just Starlink? Is it more than just Starlink? What is Elon Musk trying to do?
I think. So first of all, you talk about the Bitcoin, right? Whether they hold Bitcoin, in their treasury, is it a good thing or not a good thing? I think it's okay, right? It just proves that it is a good treasury item. But it's also proved that they are not holding a lot in Bitcoin, right? If it's such a good good product, they should hold at least 30 or 40%, allocation in their treasury, right? Why is it so little, right? So I'm not going to fight my own back, right? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
But coming back to the SpaceX talk, we can see that the rockets, you have all those commercial arrangement or government arrangement. I think that is cool. Right? They get a really good corporate revenue from all these things that they have done. But to me, if he wants a global adoption, right, just like his Tesla car, is global, right? The only product that I can see is the Starlink. That's it. Slash the price by 70%, sell it to the world. Trust me, if he's going to do that, I think a lot of these telco right now in the world will get into big serious problem. And anyway, this is already predicted that it's going to happen, right? I give you an example. How much are you paying for your handphone bill right now?
For internet?
No, for your own handphone mobile.
I basically paid it off, but normally it would be like about
How much a month?
50 euros or something.
50.
Yeah, it's now down to 30. Yeah.
Okay. You're very rich, bro. I tell you.
I'm getting poorer by the day.
I know, bro. I tell you how much. So I used to pay very beginning, like $200. Then it drops to 50. You want to guess how much I'm paying in US dollar a month? Let me just tell you first. I have 800 minutes that 500 minutes to call in the local environment. I have 300 minutes to call worldwide, right? I have 500 GB to use in Singapore, Malaysia, and so forth, right? And then I have maybe another 15 GB to use it globally, data. How much do you think that will cost?
Well, it's probably lower than I think, but so I'm gonna say really low, $10.
Lower.
No dollars? Like free?
Lower, bro. Lower than that.
5.
$6 US.
Wow.
Well, bro, you just imagine the talk time, the everything, $6, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we got to understand, that things are changing. The telco locally are also adapting to the model. So I think Starlink is definitely going to come, and they are going to come and kick ass, 100%, right? So if I'm paying $6, for example,
yeah.
Do you think after that I'll pay $100 for Starlink? No way, man, right?
Yeah.
So that should be the case.
Well, and so you do think Elon will compete in that market and drop below $6?
He has to.
Or will he do like different areas paying different prices?
No, I think he should be looking at a broad pricing range, right? Like if you pay $5, this is what you get. If you pay $100, this is what you get. Right. Right. So if you pay 100, it might be your mobile phone and your satellite phone and your home internet, example. Right. So I think he has to do something about it, man. If he's not going to do this, then what for to do the IPO, man? Right. So I think he has to do it.
And then, just coming back to your book, like because that's that's what we're talking about, also AI and stuff. But what is the most important sort of message that you want to convey, or that you want people to take from your book? Like what's in your book that you think is the most important message?
There are many important messages, to be honest, but I try to say a different one each time. So what I want to say again would be very similar to what I said right in the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to tell people that we need to understand what is decentralization and the importance of decentralization, right? You just imagine if you come to this space, right?
Yeah.
You believe that decentralization is the future, right? You don't want to be controlled by the banks and the government, right? Then why are you okay to be compromised? No way,
Yeah.
right? And that is our only selling point, right? If we are we are not decentralized. What is our selling point, right? It's just like all my friends that I always laugh at them. They say, "Hey, after the US dollar, I hate the US government," but then they are pushing stablecoin.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what are you talking about, bro? If you are pushing for stablecoin pegged to US dollar, you're literally pushing for US dollar, man. So,
Yeah.
so we need to walk the talk, right? So number one, decentralization got to come in a stronger manner, right? We need to remember we are here to build a DeFi era, right? Second point that I want to say is AI is definitely the future, right? So these two should stick together and come up with the best working model so that your agents that you're using is secured using the blockchain technology,
Yeah.
right? And then the money that the AI agent is managing, like your portfolio and so forth, is all well recorded, right? You will not disappear, right? So everything should be recorded on chain, and everything should be done in the most transparent manner, right? So it's going to be a super big ecosystem where we could really look into full automation, right? And the last thing that I want to say, apart from the decentralization AI, is when these two things come together, the real automation begins, right? Everything will be automated, whether it's your healthcare, whether it's your banking, whether it's your investment portfolio, whether it's your job, everything is automated, you know. So embrace it, right? And I
Yeah.
really want to embrace that full automation. Right now I think it's about semi-automated, right? Because I will not trust the AI fully because
Yeah.
of how it is functioning right now. But sooner or
Yeah.
later, the
Hallucinations.
model will change, right? And the full automation is going to come.
So, what would such a society look like in your view? Like, let's say 5 years out, 5 to 10 years out.
People will have more time. People will have more time, right? You have more time to do the things that you want to do,
Yeah.
right? Because productivity have increased, right? Now, instead of you spending 8 hours doing your job,
Yeah.
you'll probably spend only 2 hours. Then you have more free time. I think that should be the case. You know,
But then you got different kind of people. Of course, you got people working in high end jobs. That but you also have people who have very simple jobs.
like
And
what?
well,
Like what?
let's say you got, I don't know, somebody who's working as a cashier, like working in a supermarket, or in I don't know, uh,
Bro,
collecting the
so
garbage, or what?
so some of these jobs will still remain. We are not saying that they are going to replace the job, right? So if someone is working in a supermarket, right, instead of them spending time to look at the inventory, right, the AI automation will solve maybe 90% of their job. Right now, it's already solving, right? Everything is barcode register. You don't even need the cashier, right?
Yeah,
So if you are working in the supermarket environment, that might happen, right? Of course, you still have to physically move the stock to the shelves
yeah,
until one day where the autonomous robot comes into real reality. They might replace that job for you,
yeah,
right? But I think no matter what, the human power, the muscle, is still gonna happen, no matter what, right? So supermarket is fine, right? If you are working in a marketing job where you need to do a lot of social media posts, for example,
yeah,
I think now AI can really take over more than 90% of the job, right?
yeah,
Posting, thinking, and all those running campaign, right? But you still have to be the one giving them the creativity, right? You are still the architect, right? So
yeah,
there's no need for you to worry. So some of my friends ask me, he say, hey, oh my God, AI is going to take over. What should I do? I told him, be a masu, right? Just be a masu, right? You will not be taken over by AI for the next 5 years, I think, until the robot comes in. But then be a masu, man, bro. They say, oh, I don't want to be a masu. I want to be a driver. No, I said driver. There's no way, man. Autonomous driving is already here, right? So
yeah,
be a masu, right? Or you be a rubbish collector, you know. But the thing is, I think people are just over anxious. it's still not the time where AI is going to take over everything.
So in what
AI helps.
timeline? What timeline do you think that will happen? Like, is it like 10 years?
Fully take over maybe in the next by 2035, I think, around there.
25.
Everything should be fully automated.
And then
your house.
you mean also robots? I actually saw this.
Robots too.
Yeah.
Robots too. That's why I said 2035 things will be very mature by then. That's my own vision, because right now, if you talk about just pure AI, productivity increase, right?
Yeah.
But if you by the time if you have the robotics that goes to the next level, you just give them another 5 years, for example, things can be more mature. So 2035 is a probable okay timeline, I think, for things to happen.
And then you introduce UBI, or how do you see sort of these societies? I mean, sort of, do governments ask you about this stuff? Like,
No, most government are not into this UBI thing, So I've not been asked that question. But I think ultimately, if the AI model is using our data to run and facilitate everything, so probably they will give you a return on a month-to-month basis, right? So is that a UBI? I don't think so, right? It also depends on how hardworking you are to feed the data, right? So the more you feed, the more money you get. So it's not a very UBI-like, right? So, but that equilibrium, that whole balance of work is done. AI, what they are doing, got to happen within the next few years. Definitely. When you look at the trigger point will come when you see almost everywhere in the world, autonomous driving is taking over.
Yeah.
That would be the time that you get worried. Or you get to panic, say, oh shit, things are changing, right? Everything's automated. A lot of drivers are jobless right now, right?
Yeah.
But this is a thing that will definitely happen. It's not something that we can stop.
Yeah, you see it as irreversible. Like, there's too much momentum behind it. There's too much at stake. That they'll push this forward. So, what if you look forward? Like, what would be the biggest obstacles and dangers? Things that could go wrong, like in that period, like from now to 35. What keeps you up at night?
I would think that AI right now can be a very dangerous thing. Right?
Yeah.
You talk about automation. Are you willing to give all your money to the AI to manage your portfolio? Right? Because AI is also very naive, right? So just give you a very good example. All the data that AI is feeding can be manipulated as well, right? I can now put up a very big article through all the social media to say that SpaceX is going to crash. AI first thing will think that it's going to crash, right? And you will front run that narrative that it's going to crash, right? But this is all manipulated data, right? So until AI become less naive, more check and balance, more guardrail, AI is still going to be dangerous. But if you are using this as a productivity tool, I think that's okay, right? Because it increases your productivity, right? You do more, you produce more, right? But if you want to have that fully automated scenario like what I talk about, then it's just going to take some time, right? It's not so straightforward as in, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow, right? Data integrity got to be there, the protocol layer got to be there, the interface got to change. So there's a lot of things that you have to change. That is, again, go back to my Web4 book, the architecture that I talk about. All those things got to change. Once this is changed, the Web4 era is here. Full automation will happen. AI will take over. Blockchain will be the underlying layer to connect everything and secure everything, and the full automation will begin from there, right? So, like I said in the book, the internet is about to think for itself, right? They will think for itself, execute for itself, move things on its own, make proper decisions, for you financially, or even health-wise, everything, right? So you have to see that happen before we see more things kicking in.
And you use metaphors like nervous system and brain. Do you actually view AI as an organism? And do you believe or subscribe to the idea of AGI and or superintelligence? Like, do you think those kind of things are possible, or do you? What's your take there?
I think AGI is definitely possible, right? I would take it as I always mention AI as a living intelligence, right? I don't see them just as a computer code, right? If they start to think, if you can hallucinate,
Yeah,
means that you are already a different, you are already a different tool. Sorry, let me get the battery. I
no
think it's
problem.
going to, yeah. So if they can hallucinate, it can talk. I think, yeah, I think it's I think it's okay. It's a brain on its own. It's not like they are. It's not like they are like a dead computer code.
And but there's also like a difference there, right? When you sort of look at what especially Asian countries are doing, they're focusing more on the application, the use case, more like the practical elements of AI and sort of integrating it in life to make life easier. And then, when you sort of look at what the US especially is doing with these frontier models, they're more looking at the cerebral thinking level of AI and what it can do. But then again, if you look at Asia, it looks like that the Asian people have less of an issue with AGI and ASI, uh, perhaps because of also their sort of religious and spiritual background in the way that they look at these things. While in the Western countries, even though they're sort of building this sort of super intelligence that they're aiming for, they're also extremely anxious and afraid of actually achieving and building it like Frankenstein.
I, maybe saying that is not correct, but I think a lot of Western folks have a lot of they live by this conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah,
They just want to speculate. If you go to some of the spaces, sometimes I just go and listen to them. I
yeah,
was like, whoa, shit! I thought just talking about conspiracy theories, right? It's not like, just like the example I gave you about the 4th of July Clarity Act thing,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
I went to a space. I didn't talk. I just went in just quietly. My friend is hosting it, and then they were saying that, oh, I have an insider friend that is telling me that, I asked him that question. He's a very high up there, Clarity Act guy. I asked him, is it going to be a 4th of July? The guy smile and nod and smile and give you give a reply like it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen. These two conspiracy, right?
yeah.
Same, they have the same kind of style as the AI as well, right? They want it to be
Hallucinate.
conspiracy, right? You say, oh, if you're going to use this AI, our privacy is going to be gone. China is going to take all our AI and they're going to control us, right? If you have that kind of mentality, then it's very hard for you to advance and make full use of that innovation, um, that innovation cycle, right? So I think as long as the mindset is not going to change, they still think that, oh, so and so is going to use the data, you know, and again it goes back to expensive. It's been expensive. Then the whole country will not advance, right?
Mhm.
That's why I kept saying that it has to be, it will be free or literally cost nothing, right? It has to be open source. If you want AI to move to the next level, it's just like the Starlink to the next level. Is everybody uses Starlink, right? Everybody use Andy AI, for example. Oh, then you'll be a successful one, right? When
Yeah.
I say everybody uses everybody, right? They don't need to care about the cost, the price, the subscription. Everybody, So far right now, I still see that the Chinese model is the way to go, right? Maybe the US companies are not allowed to use the Chinese model, or they felt that it's not safe to use the Chinese model. I'm not sure. But once this thing become an open source,
I
right,
think
it will go to Chinese model, bro.
Jensen Wong was banned by both the Chinese government and the US government. He said we were the only company that has been double banned.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess you're right about that.
it
But
has to be go open source, bro. It has to go open source because if you go back to the Anthropic example that you give, right? The government call them, you got to shut it down. They shut it
Yeah.
down. So what's the what then how are the companies who have spent a lot of money to prompt to engineer their product using Favor, for example? It means all of a sudden they just got to stop. Then in order for them to have a reliable AI model to use, then they would resort into open source. They resort to hosting it locally,
Yeah.
and again, that is the outcome that I see, right? Most people say that will not happen, but it has already happened, right? So open source is the way to go, man. I'm not going to change my words. So even Jensen is here on the podcast. I'll still say the same thing.
That's
I don't
good.
care,
That's
man.
good to hear.
Yeah, I don't really care.
And if Jensen is listening, you're welcome to come on Bitcoin Live.
Now, Jensen, if you are here, let me know. I'll take out my. I have a leather jacket too. I could always wear the leather jacket. Maybe in the next time,
You look
next
like you're
podcast, I'll wear a leather jacket.
like Top Gun, the guys from Top Gun. Yeah. But I mean, okay, there's a lot of conspiracy at the moment. That it also connects with the whole UFO thing and a lot of other things. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. But you do have, I guess you do have like legit worries about dystopian futures, about governments abusing these technologies, right? I mean that the weaponization, you already mentioned weaponization. AIs can fabricate pathogens, dangerous biological.
Atomic bomb.
Yeah,
Anything,
you
man.
name it. I mean, the list is basically infinite. Um, so do you worry about sort of this governments taking a dystopian Orwellian turn?
I think all these things must have guardrail, right? So government intervention, accountability, KYC, all these things got to happen, right? I always tell my friends in the space, I will tell them that, if you think that cryptocurrency is dangerous, AI is more dangerous, right? If you put a lot of different guardrail around a decentralized network, cryptocurrency, then you should put the same guardrail on AI, right? If you think that centralized power is going to be very scary for AI, then let's go decentralized. Therefore, decentralized AI, Web4 environment. That's it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
People are not talking in this manner because they have conflict of interest, right?
Yeah.
Anthropic would buy my story, I think, because Anthropic always want to look good, I want to be the nice guy, I think they will buy my story, right? But they have to ask themselves too, right? What is the money generator for them right now, right?
Yeah.
It's an IPO. So all this do good, decentralized, and all these things, it will happen after the IPO. Right now, they can't come with this kind of bullshit story, right? They have to go with their usual capital story or the Wall Street friendly slogan, right? So after the IPO, when they have the money, I think things will change. If they are doing AI for good, then I think they would have to change. And decentralized AI would make up part of their whole network, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And somebody asked in the questions, what do you think about Bitcoin next year? And I guess he wants to know about the price of Bitcoin. Do you have a view there? And of course, it's not financial advice, but do you think we're heading into the last bull run, which ended kind of on a downer, right? It didn't do much. Some people talk about diminishing returns.
I talk about that too. So I think put it this way, yeah. So scenario number one is macro environment is good. Oil price go back to normal, no more war. Interest is controlled. Interest rate is controlled.
Yeah.
Stimulus check kicks in, right? Stimulus check kicks in. Cryptocurrency have more use case because right now we are all talking about shitcoin, right? There's no use cases, right? So use case got to come up. And if you can do that quick by the end of the year, when they come out with the stimulus check, hopefully, then I think getting 100,000, 100,000 BTC by the end of the year is very possible. Yeah.
Do you
But
also
if
think
you,
that the Clarity
sorry,
Act is important? That the
no, it's
Clarity
not
Act.
important, man.
Okay.
It's all priced in already. There's all this
Yeah.
stablecoin bullshit. To be honest, is a US propaganda for them to distribute their debts. Right? They have to bring the US dollar outside of US. Right? If you bring all the US dollar back to US, the inflation is going to kill them. Right?
Yeah.
So they agree to this because they see that all the stablecoin money is going out. Right? Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone is taking some US dollar. So that's why they push for US dollars stablecoin.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? So to me, that one, it doesn't matter because all my friends, they will say that, oh, there's a lot of stable coin at the sideline, while once they see there's a chance they'll buy crypto. I don't think so, man, bro. What's the relation, right? Some of them, they are very hopeful. They say, oh, when the X stock goes all the way up, they will sell and rotate back to crypto. What makes you think so? Are you joking? Why not they buy another AI stock, Anthropic,
Yeah.
OpenAI? Why do they want to rotate back to crypto? Right?
Yeah.
So if the scenario that I've given, all the scenarios that I've given happen, I think shooting up 100K is not a problem, right? If there's a prolonged no action from the US government, right, which means that Kevin is just going to kill the interest rate, no steamy check, no nothing.
Yep.
I think the 44,000 Bitcoin will come early next year. It will come early next year. Maybe not that early, maybe end of Q1 or early Q2, it will happen to 44,000. Because we just based on the very simple diminishing calculation, 44,000 is definitely possible, right? But if you look at the overall liquidity, overall volume, I think right now it has dropped significantly. So as long as we don't drop, as long as there's no new money flowing in, the 100,000 theory will not happen, right?
Yeah.
And most likely it will go to the 44,000, right? So all the items that I've said must be aligned, happen. 100K is possible. If it didn't happen by this year, then the 44,000 will happen. Right now, you just need a very little money to pull the price back to 64K. Super little money, right? You don't need to have a few 100 billion to push it up.
Yeah.
So we have to watch and see. No new money, no honey, man.
And gold?
Gold, hard to say. I'm not a fan. Right? But I think because the US hold a lot of the supply, I think they will still continue to market make it a bit. It has to cool down, definitely, right? Then when the steamy check comes in, the price will come up. Same, almost the same trajectory as Bitcoin, I think.
Basically, it has to do with liquidity and the right conditions.
Yeah, because right now there's really no liquidity, bro. So no matter what all these analysts is saying, it's just a bunch of assholes, bro. There's no money, right? If you have money, we can talk about serious price prediction. But if not, all these are short term, day on day. Today I think it's going up. Tomorrow, when I see the figure, it doesn't look good. It's just going down, right? Everything is very volatile right now. Go by the hour, man. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Michael Howell from Cross Border Capital, and I think his last podcast was like the party is over, and he has this sort of liquidity cycle. So we're sort of at the bottom of the liquidity cycle.
We still have to go a lot more. It's not the bottom, definitely.
Okay, there's more to go still.
More to go. Why does he think that is the bottom right now, where there are plenty of things that are still hanging? The macro environment is shitty, right?
Yeah.
So this will not be a bottom, man. Next time you see him, let him know it never be the bottom. It will go down.
No, that's also what he said. Like, first the macro conditions have to improve in order for it to turn around. So
yeah.
I got a final question, and then I'll let you go.
Well,
So the way that I view AI is that it's closely connected to space, right? I think we're sort of China's already on the backside of the moon. We just had this Artemis mission. I think you sort of need AI to go out into space in order to make it work. And of course we had the IPO of SpaceX, and of course that has to do more with satellites and Earth than with space per se. But Elon Musk himself, he is very much into space, right, and colonizing Mars. How do you view the connection between AI and space? Do you think there is sort of like a natural link there, or I think Elon Musk also wants to do the data centers in space because of the cooling. You have no cooling costs, and of course free energy from the sun, which can also beam down to Earth. I mean, the sort of the applications of space are endless, or not to mention the resources. Do you think there is a link there?
I think there's definitely a link there. There is I think about 2 to 3 years ago, space asset is a really thing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about, not everybody, but those who are in that circle, they kept talking about space assets. I think 2 or 3 years ago is really a thing. Now, because SpaceX did the IPO and shared the grand vision, right, of the data center and the Starlink and everything,
Yeah.
it makes it even more feasible, right? But to be very honest with you, I'm not sure, because I don't know what's the dollar and cents, right? Bring all this equipment up, loading it there, remote control them from Earth. I'm not sure how feasible that is and what is the cost. But in theory, right, if you don't look at all the costs and all the practical reasons, like for example, the server is on fire, are you going to fly someone down from Earth to there to do it? I'm not sure. Let's say we ignore all those practical, impractical things. I think it's definitely the way to go, right? Because space have abundance of energy, cooling there is good, running it there is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Just to me, it just boils down to cost, capital, and whether it's really that feasible and practical, right?
So that's more like
theory-wise, definitely the way to go, right? You put your AI equipment there, the energy source is there, anyway, it's off the grid, it comes from the sun. I think it's perfect scenario, so it really depends on how far this thing can move. But I think we need to do this step by step, right?
Yeah.
So start Starlink first. I think Starlink first,
Yeah.
and then see how far that is going. Then we can then talk about space assets. Right? I have friends talking about real space assets. Where I have friends talking about building this data center as well. I have friends that are doing the transportation to the space as well. So I don't know exactly how their P&L looks like, right, or how their balance sheet looks like, but there are people building all these things, and I strongly believe that if all these factors are also aligned, cost, practicality, everything's aligned, I think it's win-win to have space assets, real space asset, right, like a data center, like a not like put an art gallery there and who the hell is going to see, right? But if you're talking about putting up real space asset there, mining rig, right, data center, I think that is cool. Those are real assets, right? But don't tell me, say, oh, you want to go to the moon and have an art gallery, NFT art gallery. Then that is screwed up, man.
Not yet.
I don't know, man. There are a lot of different friends of different things, right? They can set up an art gallery on moon and put a camera there and get people to see the gallery. Possible, right? But it's not practical, right? So
no, yeah.
Again, it depends, you know.
And it's still like 10 years or 20 years off into the future, probably.
The
Anyway,
same thing, man. If the alien come by to steal your artwork, you're gonna send someone out immediately to
yeah.
sort it out. I'm not sure, you know. But space asset is really here, you know, is really cool, and you will definitely be, yeah, be Elon. You will definitely be Elon driven, you know.
Okay, and then one last question, because you just mentioned aliens. And you also mentioned, like, being in the spaces with the conspiracy theories. Uh, how do you watch, the disclosure coming from the Department of War, and all this sort of hype and craziness around aliens? Do you have a view on it, or how do you?
No view at all, man. Until they show the images,
Yeah.
show the interaction with the aliens. Otherwise, I'll just take it as it's just a UFO, right? It could be a flying drone. It could be a flying paper plastic bag. Show me the aliens, man. I really want to see. Right? If you have aliens, tell us. If you manage to talk to them, where's the video? Right? If you manage to capture them, where's the video? Right? No video, just bullshit, man. To be honest,
Okay, so
I,
you don't buy into it.
I think there are other living beings in other planets or other ecosystem, but until we can see it, I will not believe it. Right? If the aliens are listening to the podcast, right, send me a message. I'm very active on X. Right?
Yeah, and to me too. While you're at it. So, Andy, I want to thank you very much for being back on Bitcoin Live. It was too long ago, and yeah, I'll take a copy of your book, or see if I can read it. And I don't have a lot of time, but I'll try to get through. And
Audiobook, bro. Audiobook.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
the
yeah.
audiobook.
I'll put it on while I sleep, or before I fall asleep, I guess.
Okay.
When I'm in bed. Yeah, so
No
thank
problem,
you
bro.
for being on the show and for doing this and giving your insights and information. And yeah, to everybody listening, go follow Andy, of course. I'll also put all the links down below in the YouTube video that we have. And yeah, I wish you a really nice day over there. I think it's on the evening. It's probably evening, right?
Oh yeah. When we started, there's still lights. Now it's all dark, man.
And do you have any last message before you want to go, or?
No, nothing at all. But maybe just take a read at my book if you have not read it. I think I hope to get more people to interact and share their thoughts. On what Web4 is all about. Right?
Yeah.
Embrace the technology, bros.
I'll pull it up one more time. Web4, the age of autonomous intelligence. You can find it on Amazon.
Bestseller right now. Still, it was a number one, ranked number one for new releases. I think I was ranked number 11 at one point, but it's
Wow.
always fluctuating, man.
Well,
So-
that's quite an achievement. And you actually also wrote a lot of other books, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to highlight some of those?
Nah, no.
Huh?
Just
Okay.
read the Web4 one, bro. I like I said, the other books are a bit expensive, but so buy the Web4 one if you really want. Just get the ebook, it's good to read. 500 over pages because that's how they formatted it. But actual fact, it's about 350, right? So just enjoy a read, bro.
Yep. And follow Andy. So it's Andy Lian, one word, at Andy Lian on X. And I wish you a really nice evening there, Andy.
Thank you, bro. Talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.